Yeah, so guys, right, 10Ks in, bike crash. Yeah, look, I was actually sitting in a pretty good place in the bunch, and some young guys have grabbed some brake and I've gone supermaning. But look, bike crashes happen, I'm not under any illusion about that. But just want to talk about is I hit my head. Yeah, I hit my head, and I've had concussions in the past when I used to play rugby, so I was kind of conscious of that. And when they picked me up, I said, look, I've hit my head, I think I should do a concussion test. And so they waited for everybody to go, and the medical guy started his concussion protocol on me, and that took a long time. It took 15-20 minutes to do it. Anyway, ultimately, and the team cars obviously had to keep going, and ultimately I've cleared the concussion test. Now, I would argue that I've done the right thing in that circumstance. So I've basically been forced into the SAG wagon. But prior getting into the SAG wagon, I confirmed with a number of officials that having cleared the protocol, that I would be able to race the next day. The reason I'm saying this is not to talk about me, because there was another person in this crash, and he's done the cyclist thing that we all do, right? Which is you're in a crash, but you've got to keep riding, don't you? You just got to keep riding. So he didn't get the protocol done. He's ridden another 10 or 15 Ks. And guys, it's lucky he didn't ride off a cliff, because he's pulled over to the side of the road on a descent, and he's wobbly. And you've seen pictures of Bargy, was it Bargy at the tour a couple of years ago? Worse than that type thing. And he's back there now being looked at by medical officials. So what I wanted to say here is that this concussion thing is, it's not like a rugby game. You can't just stop the game and get a concussion test. I understand that, but there has to be some black and white about this. Now, the guy told me, the third commissaires came over to me and said, look, you can argue your case for tomorrow. Guys, I shouldn't have to argue my case to stay in the race if I've done the actual concussion test. I'll just finish up by saying this isn't a comment on the race officials here, the particular commissaires here. This just needs to be sorted by cycling generally. There needs to be some black and white over this stuff, because this kind of quasi, we'll put the rules in for certain situations, we won't put them in for other situations. You have to go fight your case to stay in the race if you've done a concussion test. Oh, the guy that kept going. Look, if that poor guy, anyway, you heard me enough now. Just want to put that concussion stuff behind and kind of try and be positive and helpful here, right? So I crashed. I crash a lot, don't I? I haven't crashed for a while, but I crash a lot. So I've got some experience in sort of what to do. Obviously, this is post being cleared by the medical officials. Now, that's what happened side of the road. I got cleared, we talked about that. So I've just got bumps, bruises, and essentially some scrapes. The key thing with all these scrapes, this road rash stuff, is clean it out. It's got to be cleaned out. The quicker you do that, the better your recovery is going to be. And we're going to make it really quick today. So the guys are doing another circuit, obviously. And amazingly, Pete from Lush Desserts has a fantastic little setup here that we're going to use. And we're going to go through it, guys. I'm going to literally show you what I do after a crash, which I get way too much experience on. But first, I'm going to derobe, get out of this stuff, and we're going to get the gravel out of these cuts. What we're going to do is I'm going to clean this all down, and we're going to hit this with soap, and then we're going to hit it with like a betadine or some sort of antiseptic type thing, all right? Now, obviously, you guys won't necessarily have an outdoor shower to use, so wipes can be really good in this situation, but you do need some water initially. If bottled water or anything you can get your hands on, it's something really important to bring to a race, is bottled water, just in case you need to do this cleaning out the gunk, all right? Only thing when you're doing this, guys, be super careful when you're down rubbing on the actual saw. If you drop your head low, I've actually passed out once where I was scrubbing the saw on my knee and I just passed out. So be careful, keep your head up, don't get a head spin, all right? And look, the reason I am so thingy about concussion is I used to get them a lot playing rugby. Well, not a lot, I had 3 or 4. And I had one really bad one, which was a delayed one, where I started driving home after a game and felt nauseous and like I was going to drive off the right side of the road very, very, like immediately, like 15 minutes into the drive. So I'm really conscious of that thing hitting you like 20 minutes, an hour afterwards, and imagine when that happens out on the bike. So look, that's the last thing I'll say about the concussion stuff, but it's just got to be sorted in this sport. So I've tried to wash them out as much as possible with water. After that, obviously I want to try and get an antiseptic on there and then cover it up, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run some prep pads on it, some alcohol prep pads, which will sting like that. Then some betadine, we'll put some gauze over it, and then we'll close it over, okay? So we'll start with this one. You can come down here. Holy. But the good thing is we don't have anything bad in there. Essentially, it's clean it out, get an antiseptic on it, and cover it up. Especially if you're still going to be, I mean, I'm going to be out here for at least a couple more hours. All right. Why am I doing this myself? Okay, because look, the medical resources at a bike race are limited. They really are. And I'm not trying to be selfless by any stretch of the imagination, but there could very well be someone. There's normally like one ambulance, max, if there's an ambulance. So that's needed for someone who potentially could break their leg. It's not needed for me. So my point here is, you know, try and take a bit of responsibility yourself, but that does mean bringing a lot of this stuff. Guys, yeah, super frustrating, obviously. I do want to mention this. I've not been put off by bike racing from this, but you know, something like KOM income protection plays a role. You know, if this was a serious injury that puts me off work for months, then you know, you've got to have that cover. So I'll drop the links to that below, and also Flipped. So Flipped is a new daily insurance package that people can look for. I'll drop the links to that below this video as well. And that's it's a different, I'll explain that. I was going to explain it in coming weeks, but it's a very different sort of form of insurance, and for a different type of rider. More suited to someone doing this, really, rather than income protection, which is more for guys doing big sportives and things like that. All right, so look, guys, thank you very much for watching. I don't want the comments to be, oh, get better, Chris. You know, feel sorry for you. No. That's not what these videos are about. This is, yeah, this shit happens. I want this to try and be informative, constructive. Let's have a conversation about the concussion stuff. Definitely in the comments. I really want to do that. But let's not make this, you know, oh, bike crashing. Feel sad for Chris. No. All right. Peace. Talk to you soon. It's quite the looks.
Yeah.
Water,
Oh, that's number one for character building for sure. Especially that last lap. Just, you know, I was just telling myself I'm so close. So yeah, that was a pretty hard day.